Welcome to Ripstop on the Record, the podcast for makers, by makers, where we talk about all things MYOG. Brought to you by Ripstop by The Roll. I think it's good, right?
Yeah, I think that was a good take.
Hey everyone, this is Ripstop on the Record, and I'm Jameson.
And I'm Avery.
In today's episode, we are talking with Lane and Steph from Oveja Negra. As the name alludes, these wonderful and wacky people are from the so-called black sheep of the bike bag world, known for eclectic color matching and unrivaled build quality. We asked them to come up with 5 keys to build a great bike bag. I had some notions as to what I thought they were going to say, and I only got one right. So needless to say, this episode will challenge the way that you think about making bags, but challenge you, I think, in all the right ways.
But first, we have a few updates before we get to the episode. We had a few snowy days down here in Durham the last week that slowed down our operations team quite a bit. Everyone is working really hard to get your orders out as fast as possible, but please be patient as we catch up.
So there are no new products to talk about this week, but I do want to highlight a few that I've been finding myself gravitating towards recently. And those are these three products. One, our paracord. We got the green and black colors in just a couple of months ago. And I found myself using that a lot because you can gut paracords, like pull all the white strands out, and then it flattens really nicely so you can stitch it into a seam. I've tried it with all sorts of things like zipper pulls, zipper pull tabs. I've handmade daisy chain kind of down a seam where you kind of weave it in and out, sort of like a Z to get these little loops. It's been really nice, and I just like how it lays well because it holds a stitch pretty nicely. Second, our glow cord, Sterling, I think it's 2.5 millimeter glow cord. It's really nice for zipper pulls, and it just has a really nice color kind of to it. The glow cord just has a little bit of reflective nature to it. I just found myself looking at that cord a lot and wanting to kind of put it on my zipper pulls and adding in little places where I could. And then third and last, I haven't talked about this too much, believe it or not, but this is my go-to webbing for just about everything these days. It's lighter than 1,500 pound webbing, not quite as strong as in it's not going to hold 1,500 pounds, but it's extremely durable. I love the mil-spec nylon webbing. That's my go-to. It's got 1 inch, 3/4 inch. It's got a couple different width options there, but it holds a buckle really nicely, and it has that nice balance of stitchability without being too thick. So if you're looking for some nice narrow good or cord options recently, that's kind of what I would recommend. Those are some things that I'm playing around with a lot.
Nice. I wanted to shout out Ryan from The Wandering Goat. I got this really awesome custom, he calls it the Wander sling bag made, and I just really love it. The quality of work is really phenomenal, and there's so many fun little pockets and zippers. There's this little back zipper. There's pockets on the inside, and he just did a really great job. Love his branding, and I just wanted to shout him out and show that off. So if you're not familiar with The Wandering Goat, go and check out his work on Instagram.
Yeah, that bag turned out so well. You sent me some pictures, and I was so impressed with the color matching. We talk about that a little bit on this episode with Lane and Steph, but Ryan does such a good job with finding so many different colors to include in one thing and still make it look cohesive. It looks fantastic.
It's definitely a whack bag, which we'll be hitting on in this episode.
Yeah. One more thing about this episode. Lane and Steph are such compelling characters and wonderful people. They recorded in their sewing studio, so you may hear some background noise. Maybe you're going to hear a bar tacker and an industrial machine. There's some extra energy going on in the background, so just please be aware. The audio might not sound like all of our other episodes, but the content is there and the knowledge is definitely there. So stick through it. It's really awesome to hear them, but we just want you to be aware. So in case you're listening in your car and you have the volume all the way turned up, maybe you know why it sounds like there's something hitting your back tire. It's just the bar tacker. You're good.
And lastly, if you've ever felt the thrill of a perfectly sewn seam, you know that the little things matter. A little thing that you can do is rate or review the show. You could even send your favorite episode to a friend, introduce them to Ripstop on the Record. Things like this do wonders to help us reach more listeners just like you, and it also makes our day.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you for listening, and let's get on to the episode.
Lane and Steph, thanks so much for joining us on Ripstop on the Record. We're really glad you're here. Thank you for joining this episode today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, right off the bat, we really like to understand how people got into sewing. So, for your story specifically, how did you get into sewing at all, let alone bike bags?
Go first.
Yeah. Well, I grew up a good Southern girl and did a lot of cross stitch that led into dresses and just always seeing women around me sewing. And it's just a skill I carried with me into, every step along the way. I sewed in high school, I sewed in college, and it was just always a part of my life.
And I got into it. My grandma taught me how to sew. And the best story I have is when we'd stay at her house unexpected overnight. We didn't have clothes for the next day. She'd go in the basement and make us clothes. Just out fabric stash. So it's like, oh yeah, let the kids stay over. It's fine. And yeah, so we'd wake up the next morning, she'd make like little dresses and shirts. And yeah, so that was so inspiring. So after that, I started making doll clothes and dog clothes and my clothes. And just spun out from there.
I love that. That's really fun that you were able to find these stories and able to share them and your experience with us. I think a lot of people will relate to it because we all have a making journey of some type, and we talk about being Lego kids or whatever is making. So it's fun to recall that and go back to that. What has it been like turning your passion into a full-on business?
Oh, I mean, just the most joy. I mean, when people say, if do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, that's how I really do feel about Oveja Negra. And for me, sewing was always in the background. It's just like people like, oh, you can sew. Can you fix this? Can you hem that? Can you make that smaller? Can you make that bigger? And I just loved having that always be a solution for someone. But I was in accounting. I was in, a lot of other different fields, children's education. And like I said, it was just always something in the background. And when I started making the bike bags, simply because I needed them, my husband and I, just needed the bags. And people were like, oh, I want one of those. And you're like, oh, this is how I make my career bicycle bags? This is incredible. I love cycling. I love the cycling community. And then to be able to serve and be a part of it in my own unique way, in my own style, it's fantastic.
So fun. And then I kind of joined on board. So Lane started the company, and then I came on 5 years later, something like that.
Yeah.
But the shop was downtown Salida, and I was living upstairs of one of the buildings. And so every day I'd walk down my stairs and walk down the street and walk past Oveja Negra. And I would always be like, what are these sewing machines doing in here? What's going on? Because there was no sign or anything. And then one day there was a help wanted sign in the window. Dun, dun, dun. And so I thought about it all day long. And then when I walked home that night, the help wanted sign was gone. And I was so sad. It's like, I missed my opportunity because I had to go to my other job. But then that help wanted sign popped back up, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
I feel like
it's
sewing
pretty cool.
is kind of...
The rest is history, but, she went from being a very part-time employee to, working a little bit more until, I just knew that bringing Stephanie on as an owner would improve the value of Oveja Negra just tenfold, not only to be able to bounce ideas off of, hear new, fresh ideas, have the support that all of us as makers are, it's like not only are we making stuff, we're trying to make it always. And when you meet someone who shares your passion and your work ethic, and, it really took off from there. Oveja Negra, it was a huge difference when Steph joined on as an owner. And that's been how many years?
2016. So 9 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Lane, the way you talk about people kind of mentioning like, oh, like you can sew, can you do this? It makes me have this realization that I haven't thought about before, that like having the skill of sewing is a little bit like having a pickup truck, like the paradox of pickup truck. Everyone's like, no, can I borrow it? It's like, as soon as people know you can sew, they're like, hey, can you make me this thing? You're like, dude, that's enormous. What are you talking about?
Thank you for your generosity. The things that we get asked to make sometimes, I'm like, wow, you really think I'm skilled.
Thank you for your confidence.
Yeah. My wife says it all the time. She's like, yeah, but you made this backpack. You can certainly make this jacket. I'm like, those are not remotely the same things. Like backpack sewing to apparel design, not the same thing.
No. Yeah, people come into our downtown store all the time. They're like, wow, you guys sew. I sew a little bit. I'm like, well, what do you make? And they're like, well, I just make clothes. I'm like, what? You make clothes? That's 1,000 times harder than what we're doing.
Yeah, no, I totally feel that. So we've kind of mentioned Oveja Negra. You mentioned the name of the company. Oveja Negra is kind of a derivative of a Spanish term for black sheep. What makes you all the black sheep of the bike bag world?
What doesn't?
Yeah, you'll answer the question in this interview. It is kind of funny with the black sheep. In the bicycle industry, we have roadies, you get mountain bikers, you get enduro riders, and then you have these bike packers, and so they're kind of just a little wackadoodle themselves, but we ourselves in this industry have chosen to manufacture here in the United States of America under one roof. We don't outsource, outside of this country. We don't outsource outside of our town. And, and that's like a huge thing. We can make tons more money if we were able to send our designs off to an overseas factory that, does things a little differently than we do here in the United States. But we have chosen quality over the quantity of the work that we do and the funds that we make.
Yeah, one thing that you all are kind of known for is having these amazing customizations and kind of color palettes and things like that. So when you get all these orders in, what are some of the most popular or requested customizations or pieces that you see?
I mean, it just depends. Half the requests we get for our whack bags that are all just random patterns put together is no camo, but then we have tons of people that say yes camo. Some people say no purple, but then the other half say yes purple. So I would say it's kind of all over the place. So we just try to not take anything too seriously and just try to accommodate everybody, because we always think if we like it, there's somebody else out there that likes it. So when we put bags together, we just make them. Do we like them? Are they cool? Are they put together nice? Is there thought and love put into these? Somebody else will like that too.
Yeah, and then we're a team of 15 people currently, and we leave it really open to everybody to help contribute and ideas. And like Steph said, well, if I like this, and if Maddie likes that, someone else is going to like what Maddie makes. And so we give a lot of freedom to our sewers to put together these really wild whack packs.
I love that the bags are memorable in and of themselves, but do you have any memorable customer stories or experiences with the bike bags?
Oh man, I mean, every day. That was every day. It was a big part of why we opened the downtown retail store. And for everybody who worked in the factory who didn't participate in the events that we do or the social media, they didn't understand the magic behind what we're doing. Yeah, we're making bags, but when you go, all of our gals go downtown to work a day a week and they interact with customers, and we're always like, well, what are you putting in your bags? What are you carrying? And sometimes it's, a map with a great adventure, and sometimes it's their medicine, so that they actually can literally survive this adventure, and all kinds of other things.
All kinds of other things. Even just the kids we see in our downtown shop. Like we had this one mom, she came in and bought our new cross body bag, and she was trying it on her son and getting him all set up because he has to carry all of his diabetes medication with him all the time. He's just like a little elementary school kid. But she's like, this is fun. This is cool. He'll want to wear this. This could be great. So it's like, that's so far removed from bike packing, but it's helping somebody live their life and have a good time doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that you guys have that store. It's such a unique location to get those stories. We kind of talk about it. Avery and I were messaging about it earlier today, just even about the podcast, that we hear people say nice things sometimes at trail days when we visit, but so much of podcasting is kind of putting stuff out into the void and not really hearing anything a whole lot back. Like the download numbers might look good, but you don't hear those stories. So having that storefront's such a cool experience to hear firsthand stories of people and kind of hear their expressions about what they're seeing.
Oh yeah.
Every single day. Yeah, every single day somebody comes in and just knocks our socks off, which is some crazy cool story.
Yeah. A lot of listeners, especially people that kind of overlap in the bike world, may be familiar with companies like Kitspo that kind of tried this built in America type thing. It's really cool what you all are doing and really hard. I mean, it's really challenging to figure out ways to source and then build in America. what are some, without going down to like this whole like business rabbit hole of how to build a business in America and everything, what are some things that have been really rewarding or challenging about all production in America?
Oh, I mean, rewarding. It was really interesting, when 2020 struck and we had major supply chain issues coming over from overseas and factories there, raw goods, fabrics, zippers, whatever. Guess what? Not a problem for us. We did not have that issue. And my heart really went out to a lot of my code makers who do really amazing designs and tried U.S. manufacturing. It didn't work for them, and they were ducks in the water, with all this money invested into the product that they had ordered, and then just waiting on it to be able to come out of a shipping container. It was awful, but we didn't have that problem. And also we were able to really change direction when we did have that shutdown and able to like do much, we already do small batch manufacturing, but we were able to cut it down even more. We were taking boxes of 50 bags and being like, well, let's do 10 out of there because we have that control over our factory because we're here.
Mm-hmm. And just making changes right away. Like recently we made a whole production run of bags and we noticed that the solid black ones weren't selling as fast as the fun colors. We were like, okay, we don't have to even make a phone call. It's like, well, put some of these cool colors in with this black batch, and all of a sudden we invented spicy black. So fun. Shit. And within, just a quick conversation between everybody in the shop, we didn't have to call a factory and say, halt everything.
Yeah, stop making 10,000 units of what we thought we wanted.
Yeah, it's like, oh, let's just do something else. Very quick and easy.
Yeah. I'm going off script here, so I apologize for kind of the off-the-cuff questions, but what does your team look like? I mean, you do like all your own production and design and stuff like that in-house, so can you give us kind of a rundown of whatever you want to tell us about like what roles you have and what they do at your company?
Yeah. Well, so we break it down into, three main categories. We have our pre-production team. We have our production team. That's the sewers. And then we have post-production. That's customer service. That's, shipping bags out, the downtown retail store. And so everyone kind of falls into this main gig. I'm factory manager, but also pre-production manager. Steph is production manager. But we have all of our employees touch everything, like I said, our gals are full-time production sewers. They're working 1 day a week downtown in the retail store just so they can interact with customers and, share their information, about the bags from their perspective of how it's made and the quality there. It's really neat. And then, so everybody, and then is, the customer service gals, they'll help with pre-production, and then they understand about counting buckles and organizing materials and can talk to customers when they say, hey, the Siberian LT buckle on my bag broke. And they're like, oh, I know what that is because I helped fill 200 boxes with Siberian LT buckles last week,
Mm-hmm. And that just helps everybody to be very empathetic and understand everybody else's job. So if you're like, why are those shipping girls just sitting up there? You're like, well, no, they're answering emails. So it's very complicated. And, everybody just really relates and they realize how hard every job is.
That makes sense. I can see why you all pivoted so well during the pandemic as well, because it feels like having a kind of a force of people that's willing to pivot and sort of be used in multiple ways is very intrinsic to who you are anyway. So when 2020 hit, although it was devastating and hard, you all were kind of ready to go. Like it was part of your personality already.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that.
That's really neat. Okay, so one of the things we wanted to talk to you about today, you're obviously pros at making bike bags, and you make a lot of amazing things, but making bike bags has become a lot popular, thankfully, because cycling's gotten a little bit more popular. So I want to spend a few minutes talking about keys to making a great bike bag. So when you started designing these and you kind of refine them, what are some tips that you can give other makers or other people looking to make a bike bag or to buy one from a company? What sort of keys do you need to look at for a great bike bag?
I mean, we're always number one quality. Like you cannot cut corners on this kind of stuff. And that's a big reason why I would be too controlling over sending this out to another factory, US or overseas. it's like, I want to make sure a bar tack is in there. I want to make sure this seam hasn't been ripped out 3 times before you're sewing it again. I mean, the products that we're selling people, they're outdoor adventure goods. And a lot of times they are so deep in the woods and so far from any services. And you've got some dumb bag that's like dangling off your bike now, a safety hazard. And like, what are you going to do? I'll just put it under my arm while I ride this single track? Like, no. And so, I get it. Like sometimes like my sewers are like, really, I got to do that, then that, then that. Like we can't just go like that. No, because it's, it's meant, our stuff's meant to last. It's meant to be out in the woods and, in the elements, rain, sun, dirt, all of that. And so I think quality is like, you just cannot cut corners on quality. That's number one key.
Mm-hmm. And then thinking about other things like easy to replicate. We just try and find like top quality is always number one, but then it's like, what can you do? Like, let's find steps where we can connect. We have all these top stitches on this bag, but instead of going, it's like, let's do this and connect them all like a crazy puzzle. So we try to do that just to be as efficient as possible, keeping the quality top notch.
Yeah, and we have instructions written out for everything. So it's like, number one, you're not going to forget these quality steps. And then number two, we're always, like she said, we're always revising. We're always like, oh, how can you do this in a way that's easy to replicate? Where, okay, we're not going to cut cost on this material or leaving out steps, but how efficient can we be to save money there? And it's amazing. It is amazing how much just an ounce of efficiency with intention will get you in sewing.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. It's one of the things I definitely struggle with the most. Is like, because I don't have a company, I'm just making one-offs. And every so often I just kind of reflect and think like, man, what would have to have changed for me to think about how to communicate this to somebody else? And that is such a hard step to like train yourself, especially as like a creative or somebody who wants to design, to then start thinking like, okay, I want to do this thing, but how do I not only do this thing once, but like many times? It's a really hard step to train your mind to start doing that.
Well, and that's why, it's amazing if you can, I know a lot of makers are out there just kind of doing their thing, but if you can be a team, that is crucial because see, my husband, Monty Wilson, he is our lead designer. We all help out with designs. We're designed our own products in the lineup as well, but he is our lead designer and he can crank out some bags. I'll tell you that, but not that weekend. We're the weekend dogs. And that's what it is. A lot of times, he's come up with this new design. He trains me and Steph on it. And we're over here being like, oh, steps 1 through 8, cross that out. That's one step, or like, oh, we're going to move that there. And so we take his magic of these beautiful, very well thought out designs, top notch in quality, but we figure out how to make them work for our sewers so it doesn't feel tedious and so it doesn't feel overrun. And so that comes from being a team. I don't always have the patience for one-offs. Like I was the first person to say we can't do custom anymore because I didn't want to do custom anymore. I like sewing. I like, give me that stick. Let me just run the machine, like stick some more fabric in there. I don't care what it is. But I get to do that because we're a team,
And the first one is always the hardest one. Oh my gosh, so hard.
Oh, yeah.
So once you figure it out, especially if like, you're just making one-offs, we see people in our downtown store, we sell different like buckles and hook and loop and zippers and supplies. So people come in and say, oh, I'm making my own backpack. God, this is so hard. I'm like, yeah, the first was awful. It takes so much patience and so much time. And then it's like, hey, figure that out. Get yourself out of the weeds a little bit more with each one. And then by the time it's into production mode, it's like, we kind of have it figured out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's a good tip. Okay, so we had quality, efficiency. What's third on kind of keys to a great bike bag?
What else do we say?
Durability, which kind of falls under quality, but something that you can actually take out there. You don't have to be like, oh, I have to use this zipper so delicately. It's like, no, get out there and be nice to your zippers, but you can use them and you don't have to baby this thing. Get out there and use it.
Yeah, and I think when we were discussing this, it was real about like just usability of the bag. Like if it's a buckle that can break, can we make it where it comes off really easily and we mail you another buckle? Is it easy to figure out how it goes on the bike? Is it versatile on different bikes? Like just the usability of it. Because we get some people who are like, oh, if this was just a ½ inch longer. And I'm like, you have no idea how much work it would take to make that one bag a ½ inch longer. We don't make one bag at a time, We're making, anywhere from 20 to 50 bags at a seller's making at a single time. And, but, you know, I'm like, yeah, it's a ½ inch short on you, but that guy thinks it's a ½ inch long. You know, I'm just meeting in the middle, you know, the best I can. Because that's where we have found our magic, is to be able to reproduce on that efficient level and offer that grab and go option for our customers, where it's not going to be a custom fit. And sometimes it's pretty darn close, you know. And if you use a bike that me and my husband use, you know, for the designs, they'll fit your bike perfectly.
And then that just helps to keep them affordable too. Because if every bag was a custom one-off, they'd have to be 3 times what they are.
Yeah.
So it's like once we have all the legwork and figuring out the designs and everything's kind of dialed, it's like we can keep it at this price, which is a good price for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I definitely see what you mean with the difference between durability and quality, though, because there are ultralight and amazing products out there that are made at a high quality, but they're not necessarily designed to be replaced or fixed, or, you know, some of those things. There's definitely a difference between like material selection, construction, the components that you use. Those all make a huge difference on making something that can last and be replaced and fixed and repaired and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, when we first started, I'd say probably for the first 4 years of business, we offered an ultralight line. And so it was our standard products, but it was, you know, instead of the VX21, it was the VX07. And instead of the 0616 webbing, it was the twill, you know, just a little bit lighter weight everywhere we went. And, you know, when I would advertise this ultralight line, I mean, I had to go down to grams to make it sound like anything special. Like, oh, it's 100 grams lighter. What's 100 grams, you know? Or I'd be like, oh, it's, you know, 6% lighter, because it really wasn't that much lighter. But, you know, you get people who are so concerned with that ultralightness. But then I would see these, you know, racer boys and gals riding around these ultralight bags, and they looked horrible, and they're, you know, the fabric's like fading and it's getting thinner, and I was just like, no more ultralight bags. I just don't approve of it. You know, it's not for me. You know, I want durability, like you said.
Yeah, especially on a bike. It's just like I'm not saying that they're like counting grams on a bike isn't totally worthwhile, but I align. I guess my theory is in line with yours, where like a static bag on a bike is not like, you're not going to notice that going up a hill. Like, you're going to notice if you put a brick on the back of your bag, but you're not going to notice the difference between like VX07 and VX21.
Exactly.
And then it gets loaded up tip-toppy full with everything else. Then you're like, does that matter?
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to get an extra Reese's bar. I can, because I got the ultralight bags.
Yeah. Like I'm bringing a couple more Oreos and not weighing my bag personally. All right. So, number 4, what's on the keys? What's that one?
Well, let's see. Functionality. Did we cover that one yet? We covered that one.
Oh, no, remember?
We talked about this.
Fashionability.
Fashionability. It has to look good.
It has to look good. Come on. This is an expression of your self, your life, your hobby, your passion. You know, this is what you spend your hard-earned money on.
And people can see you coming. It's like, that's the best part. My favorite thing is one of my pals was in the shop once, and he picks up this coyote brown backpack. He's like, oh, you guys just make normal stuff too? I had no idea. Because all I've ever done, it's so fun. Look at this. This is awesome. But it's like, we do make, you know, the browns, the blacks, the teals, solid colors, if you just want to keep it mellow. But like, we love just making them fun and crazy, because then it's really unique. Like, when we say no two are the same, no two have ever been the same. Like, really, never. Truly. Mm-mm.
Yeah. And it's just so fun because, you know, we work with a lot of different organizations, and we have a small sublimation printer here in-house that we work on before sending the big prints to you guys. But it's just so fun to be able to print. You know, you can see some of our printers back here. We just, you know, print out these cool designs of either artist friends or, you know, All Bodies on Bikes is a cool organization we're working with, and their art was so fun. And, you know, we were able to just bust out a couple of panels for one of our bags and make custom bags for them. And I just love, like, the fashionability of it, of like using this, you know, super logical piece of sporting equipment and but like sparking joy with it, you know. We do a lot of like bike shop logos on our bags. We get, you know, the screen printed logos, and then we just print it on the finished products for these bike shops. You know, it's so fun to see their cool logos come to life on these fun colors of ink on top of the fun colors of bags. it makes a difference to just make it more fun and more beautiful. And when, Steph's like, I got this idea for, this cow print or this wiener dog print, or I'm like, oh, let's print, bananas on bags just for
whatever
April Fool's Day, it makes our lives fun. It makes our coworkers, lives fun, and then our customers really appreciate it too.
Yeah, we hear all the time people downtown, they'll pick up a bag and say, every time I go for a ride, I see this, and this makes me want to ride my bike because I just look at this and it's so cute and it's so funny and it's so fun. So it just encourages me to get out there and ride. So why not?
I absolutely love that.
One of my good friends told me, if you can't make the world a better place, at least make it a better looking place.
It's like if you're gonna fail, at least fail successfully. Like that's the target. It's like, well, at least we're still making it better. I love that. Oveja Negra is known for amazing color combinations, and that's just something that I always struggle with. So I guess I'm kind of looking for tips on how do you match these colors so nicely and make it look cohesive? I don't look at an Oveja Negra bag and I'm like, oh, that looks jumbled or whatever. But I think about pairing colors and I'm like, am I colorblind? I don't know what's happening anymore. What's the key? How do you make these color combinations look so cohesive and fun and intentional?
Well, I think, it helps out that the variety, when we first started making whack packs, it really was a solution to, discontinued fabrics, seconded fabric that, we're just kind of in piecemeal, we had changed the direction of the fabric, if we did mismatched cuts, you make 27 cuts and all of a sudden you have 25, right? This really was a good way for us to use up these materials. But, we were using black webbing. Black webbing wasn't really that cute, it was all right. But so when backpacks first started, they were okay, and you're like, oh, it's kind of fun, you sometimes you go put stuff together, you're like, I don't think so. But then, we talked to our rep, our fabric reps, and we're asking for more colors, so they're producing more colors. We get this big, ability to sublimate print on fabrics now. And then we started getting into the custom colored webbing. And because our orders were so large, we were like, oh, it's no big deal to order a USA made, dyed webbing. This is great. This is in our wheelhouse now. And that's when it really came together, is when we were able to have so much variety. Sometimes when I'm training people and we do have to cut layers and we're putting layers in the lays to cut with the blue streak, I'm like, they're like, oh, should I just put 5 layers of yellow? And I said, well, that's yellow. That's not whack. And they're like, isn't whack just whatever? Why would I pull out 5 rolls of fabric? And I said, because we're trying to sell beautiful bags here. We don't want them to all just be yellow and coyote. That would be ugly. Oh, and here's some tan webbing. Maybe somebody likes that bag. And we do see those bags come through. We do, on our Instagram, we're not taking pictures of the kind of funny ones. But every one of them, we put them in the downtown shop. People see this one that I'm like, nobody wants that one. This gal's like, this is my dream bag. These are all my favorite colors. Did you know my favorite colors are highlighter, camo, and baby blue? And we're like,
you're welcome.
So you just have to be willing to take risks, but also having the variety too,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it really does the magic somewhat happens on its own too, because we start out the sewers with a big variety of fun colors and they carry a tiny bit, but every single one, I tell people, I'm really not joking. When a whack batch hits the inspecting table, we're like, this may be the best whack batch we've ever seen. That's true. We all sit there and we're like, these are the best. Do I need another one? No.
Yes.
Yes.
Jameson's on this sewing journey, so I'm going to challenge him to make his own whack bag.
Send us pictures. You just got to let it go. You got to surrender to the whack.
I was gonna break your hearts. I was considering breaking your hearts and telling you that my whole bike packing setup is literally all coyote brown.
It's fine. We love coyote.
It's great.
We just love coyote. We make tons of coyote bags. Our closest friends ride coyote bags. Don't judge it.
I'll try something new. I'll step out of the comfort zone.
So we have quality, efficiency, durability, fashionability. What is the fifth and final key for a great bike bag?
We had this one.
We had it. We had
it all. Yeah.
We didn't write it down.
Like, oh, we got this.
Usability, we covered that.
Yeah. Breathability. That was the one.
Breathability.
Okay, so this is a funny one.
Yes.
Breathability.
Okay.
Get ready.
Okay, so, we use X-Pack, we use Cordura, we use all these, waterproof fabrics. We sew them. They have holes in them. We bind them with nylon, binding tape, So that helps a little bit. So are our bags waterproof? No. They are weatherproof, splash proof, rain proof. Yeah, pretty good there. But no, they're not going to be submergible. And what we hear a lot of people say is that they want a waterproof bag. No, I want it to be waterproof, completely waterproof. No water's getting in here. And I say to people who want those bags, those bags aren't breathable, right? We're talking about breathability. When you have a waterproof bag, do you not need to open your bag if it's raining? I'm sorry, you're on a bike packing trip. It's raining. I'm not going to open my bags. Nope, I don't need anything. I just won't eat. I won't check my map. I won't pull out my tools. Nope, can't open my bags because it's raining. Well, I'll just wait till I find a roof. No, you've got to open your bags. And guess what happens? Your wet gloves, the rain's coming in, water's going to get in your bag. Yo, we're bike packing. You're going to get dirty. Stuff's going to get wet. If you have fancy electronics, put it in a Ziploc bag. I mean, there's fancier Ziploc bags. There's dry bags, but a Ziploc bag, double seal, put your fancy stuff in there, put it in your bike bag, put it in your breathable bike bag, because what happens when all that water gets in there and it can't get out? Oh, it's gross. It smells bad. It's moldy. It's not good. Our bags are going to just naturally evaporate, and you're just going to keep everything dry and comfy, and it's just going to be great. So breathability with the bike bags. A lot of people ask if they can seal our seams afterwards. I'm like, yeah, you can. But, this is what you will encounter. The moment any moisture gets inside of that bag, what opportunity while you're out on your week, 2 week, 3 month bike packing trip are you going to be like, I'm going to pull everything out and dry it out with a paper towel. It's like you've got to be prepared to just be in the elements.
Yeah, I think that's
Sorry, that's my durability soapbox. I'm going to die on it.
No, that's a great reminder for people, because I think it just goes back to the logic in my mind that nothing is 100% waterproof.
Oh.
You can spend $600, $1,000 on the nicest rain jacket, but if you're outside bike packing for 12 hours a day, whatever, days on end, weeks on end, I mean, you're going to get wet. Things are going to get wet. Nothing is 100% waterproof. So I like the serious reminder that it doesn't need to be 100% waterproof, and that breathability is actually a bit better.
Yeah, because then you're not going to get the mold and the mildew. And we've had our bags out in just torrential rainstorms, and people downtown are always asking. We have our backpacks down there, and they're like, "Are these waterproof?" I was like, "Well, I've taken mine on 2 big motorcycle trips through Alaska through rain and snow and going 80 miles an hour with all my electronics in mine." And it's like that was kind of my test for the backpack, to be like, "It's gonna be all right. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. That thing's great." But you can't sink it in the river. But you probably, if you're wearing your backpack and it's in the river, you got bigger problems.
yeah, you got bigger problems.
Nice. We're going to get into some more of the sewing questions. Thanks for your 5 wonderful tips on the keys for a great bike bag. We're excited about that, and I hope that people listening get excited about your tips as well. What are some tips that you have for making a bag fit a bike frame well?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the main thing is stay in your lane, right? A lot of times we get road bikers who are like, "Oh, this half-pack frame bag doesn't fit my bike so well." I'm like, "Yes, I made for your bike." I'm like, sorry, it's not made for you. We make, our bags are standard mountain bike geometry, hard tails. Like that's what people are going bike packing on. And yeah, we get, I've got my full suspension bike too. And, I've taken it out on a few single nighters here and there, it was fun. But, most of the time we're just doing the standard mountain bike geometry. And so once you get into that kind of like game, the angles are all very, very similar. And then we're just working on having multiple sizes of the same style. We do make 10 different frame bags. That's 3 bags with multiple sizes in each one. And so once we get into that, we really start finding a lot of stuff that works for most bike frames. When you're trying to specifically fit bike bags on our bags on your frame, the key thing is to go to our website and look at the dimensions and measure the interior of the bike frame. A lot of times you go on these bike websites and it's like, oh, the top tube effective. That's not like the actual interior top tube dimension, of the frame. So it's like that's the kind of the interior dimensions that we need to look at our size charts, or if you call us up on the phone, or if you're building your own bag, because we're all about the DIY. Like Steph said, we even sell a lot of supplies in our downtown retail shop for people to do this. And it's just like, imagine the space it's going in, and then don't make it too wide because it'll rub your thighs. And that's horrible. It's the worst ever when your bag's bulging.
I would have never thought about that. I don't have a frame bag on my bike, but the bag's bulging. I mean, that's definitely gonna be a tagline that sticks with me because I have never experienced that, but I don't want to experience it.
Hey, you're in
Steph, you said you're the manager of production, so sewing. Do you have any tips on keeping pattern pieces aligned when someone is sewing bags together that might have multiple pieces or parts to it?
Well, first off, just make sure the 2 sides, if you're making a frame bag, your 2 side panels are the same. So your center panel there. The thing when we have several different ways we make bags, but when we had, you have your left side and your right side, we'd stick them together, and we used to call it marrying them. So holy matrimony. And we trim them, the zippers are inserted so they were exactly the same. So like something like that helps, because if you're sewing 2 pieces together, they're exactly the same. It's going to help you out a bunch. But with our materials that we use, we don't really have too much of an issue keeping them because they don't really stretch. It's like X-Pack isn't a stretchy material. So it's like really we line it up and they're all going to go together, and we have this point going to this point. We usually just hold it and just sew it together.
Sweet, easy enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because I do think a lot of people, speaking totally not from experience, making sure your pattern pieces are exactly the same size is so key, because bike bags are really easy to make kind of wonky, like especially like the long zipper gussets and like the thing that you would, the panel attaches to the top tube, like really easy to get a little bit of a pivot in there.
twist.
Yeah, just this little bit, and like then you do get the bag rub, and but yeah, like aligning those pattern pieces makes a lot of sense. So a question that I always kind of struggle with bike bags is 1 zipper slider or 2? I've done both, but do you have a preference, and what do you put on yours? 1? Okay.
One. Because that way you can go into a zipper garage and you can seal up that little hole, versus when they join, you're always going to have that little hole. Which, like we said, our bags aren't completely waterproof. What's the big deal? But it's like, well, we want to prevent it as much as possible. Especially something like that water just pools into those spots like that.
That makes sense. You answered it for me. Thank you.
We just did an episode on industrial sewing machines, so we can't leave this episode without asking you a few questions. What are the main machines that you have in your workshop?
Mm-hmm. We have just regular straight stitch sewing machines, walking foot sewing machines, bar tackers, and cylinder beds.
Nice.
Yes. Would you be willing to drop a model name, like a Juki 1541? Like what's like your main straight stitch? Juki.
The drop feeds are all Jukis. We have a brother, a Juki, lots of Jukis. Juki bar tacker, the brother bar tacker. We got a couple of walking feet there, the old Nakajimas. Those things are just, and they're that olive green cast iron. Yeah. Ooh, they are.
Yeah.
Some of us love them, and other people are like, no, I want the air compressor powered Juki. Like we have 2 air compressor powered Jukis. Do I think, they're so scary? I like them too, but I like the old ones too. Yeah. What's we got? We got one
Conso,
one Mitsubishi.
the Mitsubishi.
Yeah. We just, our arsenal of machines have all just come in the most random ways. You know, like anybody who's starting a business, you know, I was like, oh, on Craigslist, these people were moving to the Bahamas. I bought their drop feed. Oh, this ballerina was making costumes for the other ballerinas at Russian ballerina troupe, right? She decided she didn't want to do that anymore. So I bought that machine from her. You know, it's like we just have all these really random machines, but everybody knows that Jukies are the best.
But we only bought a brand new machine.
One brand new machine. And that was
wow.
Yeah, one brand new machine that we were stoked on. Yeah, Juki bar tacker. Woo! Works like a dream.
Okay, so another bike attachment question. Velcro, really nice for bike bags, but also Velcro sometimes can get clogged up with dirt and mud and stuff. So I'm kind of curious. It's a weird question, but do you have a best Velcro? Like, is there one Velcro that you're like, this just is always really durable and doesn't get clogged with sand or whatever? Or like, what do you do about the Velcro situation?
Yeah. Pi-Ho. You know, we love Pi-Ho hook and loop. You know, Velcro is Velcro. And we found that Pi-Ho makes amazing hook and loop. It is so freaking strong. It cleans up really well, even with like wear and tear. It just really holds up. We've used it since the beginning. We do use Velcro branded one wrap straps for for most of the bags. They have those one wrap straps on them. And so that's Velcro brand. And that was because Velcro makes that one wrap in the United States of America. All of their other products, their sew-ons, they're made overseas. And so that's why we picked that. And then Pi-Ho, the product that we buy from them, made in the United States, their one wrap style product made overseas. So we don't get it from them. So a lot of it's, you know, not only the quality of the actual usage of the hook and loop, but the source, like the people and the process in which they're making it in the place. It's important for us.
I love that. And that reminder, just full circle again, that you guys are, you know, all US based, the people, the bags, the fabric, you're sourcing. And I just think that's really great. You don't see that a lot these days. And I know it takes a lot of work and extra effort from a small business owner to be able to execute that. One of our favorite questions to ask on the podcast is about fabric, obviously, since we're Ripstop by the roll. So we want to hear from you. What is a fabric that you think is missing on the market?
So we were going through the questions you sent us, and immediately we were like, an elastic that doesn't stretch out. So full elastic, because there's different elastic materials like fabric, yardage. Sure. It's great for a little bit, and then it stretches out, and then it's worthless. And even just elastic by the strip, it's great for a while, and then it stretches out, and it's no good for anybody. So that's one thing people often ask us on our backpacks. Oh, can't you just put some elastic pockets for my water bottles? It's like, yeah, they'll be good for a few months, but then they won't hold up over time. So that's what the world's missing.
Yes, I like that. The stretch pocket with the internal memory, or no memory, whatever the better way to say that is.
Eternal memory.
Yeah, that's a great shout. We haven't had that answer before, so also kudos to you all for coming up with something that we haven't heard at all. Like, no one said that.
Saying at the same time. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that's all the questions that we have, and this has been really awesome, but it's been really fun to share some time with you and kind of get to hang out in your shop virtually with you. Is there anything that you want the listeners to know about Oveja Negra that we haven't covered, or just can you tell people where to find you and where they can see your products?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, www.ovejanegrabikebagging.com. We're in Salida, Colorado. It is beautiful trails, beautiful river, beautiful skiing here. Come visit us, see our downtown shop and our micro factory. And then you can come over to our main factory, which is just, a mile down the road from the retail shop. And we just really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you guys. You know, we're big fans, especially when we were getting started. You know, businesses like yours was able to, such a cool thing to be able to buy 5 of those buckles and a yard of that fabric. And you know, it was just such an amazing resource. And now we're still, you know, working with you guys, and it's just really cool. So.
Yeah, we're so appreciative of everything you guys do. And then just so appreciative of everybody that's supported us over the years. Like, it really does. Like, we get an order and it dings on our phone. We're like, oh my God, it's great. It really is. You hear people say that, but it's like every order, like, Lane and I see it, we're like, oh, thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
So it really is appreciative. And it doesn't, you know, it's not just going in making somebody super rich. It's like we dump everything back into the business, into everybody that's what we're working with, into our community. So it's like, it really does. We try to be very honorable and use the money that we get in to support everybody else. Be good stewards of every dime we get.
I mentioned to one of my coworkers earlier that we'd be talking to Oveja Negra on the podcast today, and all he said was, "Oh, they have a cool Instagram." So even if you're not into bikes, which he is not, you can go follow them as well. So Oveja Negra Bikepacking on Instagram as well. Make sure you check them out there. But yes, we really appreciate you as a partner and love being able to chat with you guys and everything that you offer the community, especially as a bike person. I appreciate what you offer. So yeah, until next time, we're definitely going to add, Avery and I have this made up list of like the Ripstop on the record field trip that we're going to take one day. So we got to add your shop to the field trip, to the map.
Yeah.
Definitely. We'd love to have you.
Yep. Come on. You're always welcome.
Everyone's welcome.
Thank you. Well, until next time. Thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thanks.